seen in college football. But when you compare Ed O to Jimbo Fisher, as we begin the Go Hour with Olin Buchanan, it's not a comparison. It's not the same sport. It's not the same league. In fact, one's a sport and one is creative writing. Jimbo Fisher, how many 10-win seasons has he had? Let's see. Let me count this up. Okay, do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, okay. 6 10-win seasons.
And last year really would
Sure.
have been one.
So 6, okay. How many 9-win seasons? Okay, 1,
probably
2,
3 more.
3. Oh, 3. Okay. How many sub 9-win seasons has he had? 2.
His first year as the coach, I think he won 9 games.
He won 10 games the first year. Second year 9, and then
the second year at A&M, he won 8, and then his last year at Florida State with a hurt quarterback, he won 6.
So that's to me pretty good, pretty elite. National championship, 10-win seasons over and over. He basically did it last year, but you don't want to give him credit for last year. That's fine. He got 9 in a 10-game season. Okay, 90% of his games he won. Ed O, who I love to listen to speak, just love it. And you can't compare Ole Miss to Texas A&M's history, but at Ole Miss, 3 wins, 4 wins, 3 wins, 6 wins. Oh, excuse me, 6 wins at USC.
USC, yeah.
Okay, USC. Historic program. Could have maybe gotten that gig, but he didn't get it, right?
He did a nice job there at USC.
Yep. LSU wins the national championship, deserves all the credit in the world. Last year, you got to take points away for 5-5. Regardless of the reason, you got to take points away. It's not even a conversation. I bring it up because I think we in the media, and I'm not going to say you do this, but I'm sure I do this. We see things and we don't see 120 other programs when we see it. We just see it and we talk about it, right? And no disrespect to SEC Mike, because I think he has really good stuff. And later on, we're going to talk about Connor O'Gara, a friend of ours, who does really good stuff. But when you make these comments, and you should go back and look. They're not in the same conversation. If you're looking about history. Now, does that mean that Ed O can't figure it out and become a 10-win guru the next 10 years? Sure. But based on the history that we've seen through the last 15 years of college football, they're not in the same league, sport, class, anything.
Well, first of all, no matter who's the coach at LSU, I would think more often than not, you're just expected to win 10. Remember, you're going to schedule probably 4 wins.
Yep.
And you're just going to have better talent than Arkansas, Mississippi State, and Mississippi year in and year out. So there's 7. So you got to find, in the other games, who you're playing against in the East. In the other games, you got to find a way to go, 3-2?
Yep.
And you always have great talent at LSU because Louisiana players want to go there.
They do.
And unfortunately, a lot of Houston guys do too.
I'm not going to take points away for it being a destination school.
No.
But I will. I mean, I can look at the records. I can look at what they've accomplished. I can look at what Jimbo is building at what we know is a sleeping giant, or was a sleeping giant, in Texas A&M. So I recognize that the right coach, you're going to win 9 games here. And I think Jimbo's going to surpass that for many, many years to come. But they're just not in the same league based on the history. Just if you looked at numbers alone, not in the same league.
Well, see, I always, and people that have listened to this show for a long time could back me up on this. I've said when they hired Ed Orgeron that I thought he would be very successful if he was content to be the face and the recruiter and hire good assistant coaches and let them coach. Well, he did that at first, and they won a national championship. Well, Aranda, by all practical, from everything we've heard,
he was the guy.
He just could not. He didn't like working with Ed O, so he got out the first opportunity. Well, maybe not the first opportunity, but he got out pretty soon. And then Brady left. Well, now he had to hire new offensive and defensive coordinators, and now they lost a lot of starters, and then they had a bunch of guys on top of that going through the draft, had a bunch of guys opt out. So they were going to likely struggle at least to some degree last year. And then you lose your starting quarterback. So it was a perfect storm of futility, but they looked inept on defense. And that was the defensive coordinator you hired. And part of being a good head coach is hiring
the right coordinators,
good people.
Yep.
So are we just going to take it for granted that the next guy they hire is so much better than Bo Pelini, that Bo Pelini was completely inept, even though he was a defensive coordinator when they won a national championship?
Correct.
And was actually a pretty decent head coach at Nebraska. I bet they might even actually miss him up in Lincoln now. But we'll have to wait and see. But I don't know if Ed O is content to just be a face and a recruiter and say go Tigers and then let his coaches coach. Football.
Hey, but I will say this. I am willing to listen to the argument of why you think LSU might be a better football team than Texas A&M this year. I may disagree with it, but I think you can make arguments for that. I don't believe it. But they always have talent. What I can't listen to is, based on history alone, that they're in the same league. So
Fisher and Orgeron.
Yeah, they're not. Now, Ed O wins another national championship. Of course it changes the narrative, regardless of what you think about him. When you win national championships, it changes the way you're perceived. That's for sure.
One of the things that Orgeron did have over Fisher was that LSU is going to do whatever they can to help out their football coach. Florida State was not doing that. A&M does. And so
now we're going to see.
Now you're going to see. But I think outside, if you asked 100 people that actually follow college football which coach you want leading your program, I would venture to guess 75% or more would say would pick Fisher.
So 75 people out of 100.
Well, LSU wanted Jimbo Fisher.
And they still want him.
They wanted him and couldn't get him. And I don't think, look, I like Edo. I really do. I think he's fun.
He's good for the game.
But I'll just say this. If I had to choose, I would take Jimbo Fisher. I remember we had Barrett Salee, who's a big Jimbo Fisher hater, and I pushed him and pushed him and pushed him. If you were the athletic director at A&M at that time, and you could hire anybody you wanted that was available, like you're not going to get Urban Meyer, you're not going to get Nick Saban, who would you hire? And he hemmed and hawed, and finally he said, well, Jimbo Fisher. And this is a obvious Jimbo Fisher hater because I don't think he ever got over Florida State beating his Auburn Tigers in the national championship game.
By the way, hey everybody, we're I don't know. We did that interview yesterday, and I talked to him a little bit. I pressed it, but the more I think about it, it's just again for us that we live the A&M brand every day. It's obvious, and sometimes when things are obvious, I'm like, how do you not see that? But people, I have to recognize this is what people have opinions, and people click on opinions. So that's his opinion. Nice guy, by the way. He had some good analysis. I just think on that topic, I was not down for it.
This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs.
Old school commercial. Tori has no idea where maybe she does. Maybe she does. If you want to be a part of the show, I guess I should tell you the question. And OB, you've been in the media for 79 years, so you may not remember what it's like to be a fan. But I had to go back on this one. Have you regretted leaving a game early?
Oh, gosh.
Because as a member of the media, we typically can't, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember when I ever left a game early.
And do you regret it? Now, some people left. I saw on the message boards when we posted it on TexAgs.com, they mentioned the LSU game. And I can that one I would have regretted leaving early, obviously. But I could have I understand that game. Like after the 29th overtime, you're like, yeah, I got to get these kids to bed. It's 3 a.m. You should have stayed. But throughout, maybe as a child, leaving, like I know, like my brother Alex, he almost made us leave early, and it was my fault for staying longer. But the game where Choke City was, the Rockets were called Choke City Game 2 against the Phoenix Suns of the Western Conference Finals in 1994. He wanted to leave early. I was like, they were up by 20. I said, no, we're going to stay for this one. And we stayed, and they ended up losing that game. Choke City came out in the paper. But the time that I do regret was Tracy McGrady's 13 points in 33 seconds. I wanted to beat the traffic, so I bolted. Got to my apartment 20 minutes later, 15 minutes later, and they had won the game, and Tracy McGrady had scored 13 points in 33 seconds, and I left that game. I haven't left an A&M game early that I regret. I can't even remember leaving an A&M game early.
I think the ultimate. I can't think of one single time that's happened to me. So that's fortunate. I think the ultimate example of that was Admon Gilder's parents, who left Oklahoma City to drive home to Dallas in the game against Northern Iowa.
Right.
Because not only did A&M come back from a 12-point deficit with 32 seconds to go and win.
Yep.
But their son was largely the reason. In fact, he made the steal and the layup that sent it into overtime.
I remember I was in Orlando for spring break with my kids and just amazed at what was unfolding there.
Yeah, so was I, because I was deleting an entire article that was already written and starting over.
Little media inside baseball. We sometimes start working on our columns and our stories early, and then we got to change it. All right, let's set the phone number out there if you want to call the BCSI Associates hotline, and we can talk about this topic. Have you ever left a game early, regretted it? 979-693-1150. The AMB text line, 979-693-1150. We go around the room, or the several rooms that we have, and we go to Daltonian. Dalton Hughes in the house. What's up, bud?
Good morning. Happy Thursday. I can say I've left plenty of games early. It had to do with when I was a student here. Didn't regret most of them. I walked out of my last game at Kyle Field as a student to head across the street and partake.
Oh, partake in what, Dalton?
Water.
Water. Little beverage.
That was fermented, maybe. I don't know.
Okay. Good times there. I see you're alone. Everybody left you.
Yeah, I don't know where everybody is. Well, Richard's on vacation.
What? He gets vacation?
I guess. I don't know.
During football season? Oh, or there's going to be a meeting.
Don't talk to me, man.
TPS reports. Got to turn those in. Let's go to the News and Social Center. Hello, Tori Esparboa.
Hi.
It's so awkward when I say your first and last name, but hello, Tori.
Hi.
Hi.
You want to ask how you are? I'll ask how you are. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
Good. I'm doing great.
Good to see you. Do you got some news for us?
I do. I have a couple of headlines. For starters, today me and Jamie are going to go out to football practice. There will be some coverage on TexAgs.com. Make sure you stay tuned and check that out. Former Texas A&M women's basketball All-American Aaliyah Wilson signed a contract with the Romanian professional team Sepsi SIC on Tuesday. Lastly, the Texas A&M women's soccer came out to a 1-1 draw with UNT last night. And then I was putting together some headlines last night, and I kind of came across this headline where it stated that 2 Georgia basketball coaches were charged with murder after a 16-year-old girl died after outdoor practice.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
So they were having an outdoor practice. 2 of them on that team?
A 16-year-old girl, so 2 coaches.
Oh, 2 coaches.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Wow.
And then the sources on NBC said it was due to extreme heat.
We've seen that over the last few years, and it's one of those that I think when we were kids, OB, that kind of, I'm sure it happened, but we didn't talk about it. Like, you just did 2-a-days, you just kind of fought through it. We're hearing a lot more about it in these days, and I think obviously a lot of it has to do with social media, where we get the news all around the country and all around the world.
Yeah, I would love to read more on that story, why they would charge some guys with murder. I mean, it's a terrible thing when that happens. What the first I remember was a guy in Ennis back in the 70s named Sean Mathis. Now, I'm sure it happened before, but he was a big kid and died of heat exhaustion. But, I'm old enough to know when I was in high school, first of all, they gave us salt tablets before the game.
Right.
Before practice, which was like the worst thing you could do. And we would get like a 5-minute break in the middle of practice, and you'd get a cup of Gatorade, which is more ice than Gatorade, and that was it. Now, at the end of the practice, we would jog the quarter mile or whatever it was from our practice field to the field house, and the cheerleaders would be there with a big igloo cooler full of Kool-Aid, and they could have been, movie stars, and we wouldn't care. All we cared about was that Kool-Aid.
Right.
And they figured out, hey, you got to provide water. We were told that if you drank too much water,
it was bad for you. Yeah,
you were soft.
Well, and didn't they say it would make you you get like pains in your side or something. There was something with drinking too much water.
Maybe. It was just, that seems familiar. But of course, now they figured out, okay, this is a bad idea. We got to, I think that goes back to Corey Stringer of the Vikings when he passed. But so there's typically water available. Now, if those guys were saying, no, you can't drink the water, you can't, then, okay, everybody at this by now should know that, if somebody says they're thirsty or if they're showing any kind of signs, get them out of practice, get them in the water and whatever. But if it's just because there was a football player at Georgia Southern. No, maybe it wasn't Georgia Southern. Someplace in Georgia, a football player that passed away yesterday.
So I have the article. We'll get to it here during the show. But she was 16 doing mandatory conditioning drills, and she passed away in August of 2019. We can kind of discuss that topic a little bit later. But when we do come back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, we are getting into 21 in 21, presented by Factory Builder Stores. Number 12 is up next.
This is the Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM.
In remembrance of the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, the 12th Man Foundation will be standing for America to recreate the 2001 red, white, and blue out of Kyle Field. For the Aggie football home opener on September 4th, all fans in attendance are asked to wear red, white, or blue, depending on your ticket location. To find out your color assignment and where to buy your official event t-shirt, go to 12thman.com and click the quick link to Red, White, and Blue Out. All proceeds from shirt sales benefit Texas A&M Task Force 1 and Points of Light Foundation.
The love that I have for Texas A&M is just feeling so much a part of the school, feeling like there's always people there to support you, that you've got a friend no matter what.
I'd want to give a student the chance to do something they want to do. And the association, I know, gave a lot of my friends the ability to go forward and to actually pick the major they wanted, do the studies they wanted to do.
When I started thinking about college, I had one goal in mind, and that was my parents will not pay for my schooling.
There's a lot of kids out there who are going to make good Aggies, and we ought to give them a chance, and I'm willing to put my share in to try to help them.
Of all of our traditions that are well known, the one that sometimes gets passed over and just taken for granted is perhaps the greatest, and that's Aggies helping Aggies.
To learn more about the association's impact or to make a gift, visit tx.ag/giving.
The flagship station for Aggie Athletics is The Zone. Whenever the Aggies are playing, you can hear them right here at 1150 and 93.7 FM. Thank you to all our listeners and our sponsors for backing the Aggies all year long. Cooper's Old Time Pit Barbecue, Swartman Flooring, Prosperity Bank, Hargrove Insurance, Park at Traditions Exceptional Senior Living, Cherry Rufino Broker Realtor with Coldwell Banker Apex Realtors, and Amarillo National Bank. Here's a big gig-em to all these sponsors. Listen to Aggie Athletics on The Zone 1150 and 93.7 FM.
Suck it up.
It's not a big deal.
Snap out.
Just get over it.
We've all heard it. But if you're experiencing extreme stress, it's not just in your head. It can affect your entire body because toxic stress can hurt us physically without us even knowing it. If you've lost a job, worry about your next meal, or have trouble making it through the day, if you're feeling the effects of stress, we can help. Text stress to 211-211 to find a solution.
The best is yet to come in College Station.
Chase Lane is in for a touchdown! Yes!
Head coach Jimbo Fisher and the Aggies are ready to rise to the top of the SEC.
Swing to Anias, he's in the end zone, a 6-yard reception.
Join us Saturday, September 4th. It's the season opener versus the Kent State Golden Flashes on your home for Aggies football, the Texas A&M Sports Network.
Listen to Aggie football on 1150 AM and 93.7 FM. Online at radioaggieland.com. Or tell your smart speaker to play Zone 1150.
Just a takeoff of "Don't Worry, Be Happy."
Do you hear that? I don't hear that.
No.
Tori, do you hear that?
He's not on.
Good times. Hey, it is TexAgs Radio as that song comes to a close here. We are brought to you by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. And I would like to say hello to our, are you kidding me? I I'm on the YouTube page.
Yeah.
Hi, YouTube peoples. And I appreciate everybody watching. But we got a guy called SEC Hook'em on there. Oh,
already.
What a loser. Can I just tell people, yes, SEC Hook'em your name. And I know you love the attention. This is what you live for. If you live for attention from other schools and try to go to their page and disrupt what they're doing, you're a loser. Write it down, put it in your phone, get the alerts every day to remind you that you are a huge loser. Loser. I believe that's how you spell it. Sorry, I just wanted to tell the world that.
I'm impressed that you spelled it correctly because so many people on social media will put Looser. And I'm like, no.
It's just, seriously, like, and if you're an Aggie and do it, don't. Loser. Get a life. Go get a puppy. Go walk your dogs. Be a dad. How about call your mom that you haven't spoken to in 3 weeks, or leave the basement. Do something productive with your life other than get on the internet and say, oh, I'm 39 years old. I'm going to tell these people I do this. Loser.
Yeah, it's like the guy that, do you remember the story of the guy that mocked up a page? He was in Austin, worked for Texas. He mocked up a page saying that Landry Jones, at the time the quarterback at Oklahoma, had been arrested for dealing drugs.
Oh, yeah.
And it turns out, it was all, a lie, and Landry Jones's dad said that they were going to prosecute to the full extent. I wonder whatever happened there. I'm sure he got fired.
Oh, my God. Just have some time with your life, please. How about that? Just do some. Okay. How about I separate myself from that? I feel like I have this discussion once a week, just people who have no lives. So we're going to move on, and we're going to get into 21 and 21 presented by Factory Builder Stores. We're at number 12, and Factory Builder Stores is celebrating over 30 years as the largest contract distributor in Texas. They can service builders and general public with locations throughout Texas. Here in College Station on Old Welborn Road and Rock Prairie, just on the west side of the railroad tracks. Go see Jason and John. They're going to take very good care of you for all of your appliance needs. We're going to use them ourselves as our house is being built, and they're just very painless, easy process. So we go to number 12, Mr. Olin Buchanan, and it's a guy that, again, when we do this at the end of the year, we may have to re-vote and redo this. It's number 12, Caleb Chapman, who's coming in hot.
Yeah, if Caleb's knee is 100% and he doesn't get hurt, because injuries has been an issue for him, he will be higher than number 12. I mean, he's a deep threat, as we saw against Florida, 250-yard catches.
Yep.
I think one set up a touchdown and one was a tying touchdown, and I think he had 3 touchdowns in 3 games. And they hardly played him against Alabama, which was kind of bewildering. I don't know what the deal was there, but he's a guy I think I think we can all agree this guy was having a breakout year.
A breakout game, at least.
He played well against Vanderbilt.
Yeah. So I'm looking at his numbers throughout his career. 15 receptions, 203 yards, 3 touchdowns. Now, that might not grab your attention, but most of those came in the game against Florida, 9 catches, 151 yards, and 2 touchdowns. As you mentioned, the Vanderbilt game. He's got size. He's got speed.
Great hands.
And he makes a game-winning touchdown and just makes everything look easy. I thought it was going to be that play that we saw, but it's not.
Yeah, it was a game-tying touchdown.
Game-tying.
But yeah, it was he was adding the big play element, the guy that could stretch the defense. And then when he got hurt, A&M missed that. That was one of the things that I don't want to say limited the offense, because the offense still averaged over 30 points a game, but it changed. I mean, they didn't have the consistent deep threat that he provides, and I really love the idea of him being out there. We're hearing that he's 100% now, and he's or close to it. That he's expected to be out there, and I think at least early you might have some teams that are still unaware, some opponents that are still completely not completely aware of what he can be.
6'5".
I mean, what do you want in a receiver? Like you said, he's big, he's fast, he obviously runs good routes, he has excellent hands. He showed against Florida on both of his touchdown catches that he can catch a ball,
deep ball,
but he can catch it in traffic.
Yep.
Because he had a short touchdown pass where somebody was all over him. So, Yeah, I think he's just one of those guys that is always going to be a lot better than he's given credit for.
And when people look at what the A&M offense did last year, not having him changes the way you play the game.
Sure it did.
Absolutely changes. And this year, who do you double?
It's probably one of those deals where you look at the situation, the down and distance, things like that, and hope you're right. Because with him out there, if your quarterback is making the reads correctly, that's just one more thing that just is a headache. They say Swiss Army knife. Well, I call it the smartphone because we're way past the Swiss Army knife technology, right? So he's just one more app.
He's another app. One that you don't have ads inside the app to use extra content in there.
Because, he's just he's a heck of a football player, a heck of a receiver, and he's just one more really lethal weapon that you can use in that offense.
Mel Gibson. Are you more Mel Gibson or more Danny Glover? I think you're more Mel. I think I'm more Mel too.
Yeah. I like the star more than the co-star.
I'm
probably more Joe Pesci.
Cousin Leo?
Yeah.
Was that it? It was
Leo Getz.
Leo Getz, that's what.
Whatever you need, Leo Getz.
Leo Getz, that's right. That's old school right there.
How do I know that?
When that movie, that was part 2, right? Lethal Weapon 2 with Leo Getz?
Yeah, maybe. He might.
Not to dogleg too much, we watched Die Hard recently with our kids. Great movie in the 80s. Watching it now with kids, with the way it was filmed, not as good when you watch it with your kids now. If you watch it by yourself or your wife or somebody that understands the 80s, still great. That was one the kids were like, this is a great movie, Dad? I go, yeah, it's a great Christmas movie. Deal with it.
Yippee-ki-yay, folks.
My friends, yippee-ki-yay. Tori, Tori's probably not there anymore. We'll get Tori here in a minute. I'm just curious. Dalton, do you know anything about Lethal Weapon?
I know Rene Russo's.
I do.
Okay, just making sure that your generation knows a little bit about Lethal Weapon. So we're talking about double teaming and whatnot. Think about how different the offense could look, right, or should look, with the return of Caleb, and if Demas contributes.
Oh, he'll contribute.
And of course he is. And then you've got Anias. I keep going. Chase Lane.
Moose.
Catches left and right.
Hez Jones is a guy that catches the ball on third down.
Sure, yeah.
He and then, of course, we haven't talked about Watermeyer and Cup.
Eli, potentially out there as well.
There's all kinds of weapons on this offense.
And we can probably get into this a little bit later, but the big question that people have, 2 questions, and we recognize them as well, as the offensive line and quarterback play. But I was doing some research, and I saw an article on College Football News of the top 13 teams in college football, 9 new starting quarterbacks.
Yep. And that's, I think that gets ignored. Like, I was trying to make a point yesterday that there's this big question mark about A&M because if it's quarterback, and I get that. That's valid and it's fair. But I think Ohio State's quarterback situation is much more uncertain even than A&M's.
It is.
But that doesn't seem to bother anybody. Now, why is that?
Because it's Ohio State, and they've done it more often than A&M has in recent history, and which is, I guess, a valid argument, but it's not the end-all, be-all, right? They still got to prove it, just like Alabama has to prove it. Even we know that Alabama usually proves it, but they still got to prove it. Sometimes a quarterback is not going to be great. Sometimes.
And even Notre Dame, they're saying, hey, Jack Cohen was good at Wisconsin. Well, he lost his starting job, I guess. I don't know why Mertz was the starter over Cohen, but I looked him up yesterday, and he threw for 2,700 something yards 2 years ago for Wisconsin in 14 games. I think 8 or 9 of those he threw for less than 200 yards.
And he's not the guaranteed starter, right? There's 3 guys battling for it.
Yeah, but I think he's the guy
that's
projected to be the starter.
All right, we'll get into that and more with Stephen McGee here next on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. But right now, I think this is like Olin's favorite sponsor now, because I keep talking about it in his eyes. Every time I talk about Heritage Films, you're like,
that's a great idea.
It is such a great idea. So Chance McClain, a good friend of mine, joining TexAgs this week to present to us Heritage Films, yourheritagefilm.com. No S on that, on the website, yourheritagefilm.com. They make documentary films for yourself, your family, and I'm talking like legit documentary, Netflix, A&E, HBO, Amazon, like really good work. It takes them like 8 weeks to put together. We're talking cinema stuff. Chance is the most creative person I know. All right, you've got Chance and Raheel. Those two guys, the most creative people I know, and Chance has got yourheritagefilm.com. Very down-to-earth guy. Ranch there in Magnolia. He's got his daughter Gunn, goes to A&M. She's been with the company since day one, so they're basically an Aggie company.
Can I jump in here?
You can jump in twice.
My wife's, her birthday was yesterday.
Yeah.
And I could not, if this is a few years ago, I could not have come up with a better birthday present for her than if I would have had something like that done about her father who passed away, because she was so close to him. She would have loved to have had something like that if it had been available.
Yeah, and think about that. Like that is something that Quinn's kids are going to see one day, the rest of your family forever, right? And you can go back and watch. It's just an amazing thing. For me, it's very important to get my dad's story documented. 91 years old. He's got so many stories that I kind of know, but I want to see it on TV, on film. I want to see it with my wife and kids. I want my grandkids one day and their kids to see this film about my father. And Chance is going to do it. He's going to come by in October and break it down. He's not advertising other places, guys. He's got very few select kind of clients that he goes for, and it's because of the A&M history, the how much tradition we believe in is why he's teaming up with us. YourHeritageFilm.com, 713-893-8341. That is 713-893-8341.
I'm Chelsea Reber with your community calendar on The Zone. The Caldwell-Burleson County Lions Club presents the movie Ratatouille this Friday at the Caldwell Civic Center. Doors open at 6 and the movie starts at 7. Canned goods or non-perishable food items are good for admission. Stage Center Theater wraps up its season with Pure as the Driven Snow. Performances are August 12th through the 28th. Purchase tickets online at stagecenter.net. Loss of a Spouse is a free seminar on Sunday, August 29th from 4 to 6 p.m. at Peace Lutheran Church. Email Rhonda at peacelutheranbcs.org for more information. Now on display at the Arts Council, Refrigerator Art. Art created during summer art camps and Saturday adult classes will be displayed in the lobby gallery through the end of August. You can hear Aggie football, Aggie basketball, and Aggie baseball right here on Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM. Online, listen to your favorite Aggie teams play at RadioAggieland.com. I'm Chelsea Reber on The Zone.
For service you can trust and a job done right the first time, contact Tom Line Plumbing and Irrigation. Whether it's commercial or residential, new construction or service, they have you covered. Tom and Shelby Line have been serving the Brazos Valley for 11 years, and their team of plumbers have more than 40 years of experience. Customer service is their highest priority. Trust your every plumbing need to Tom Line Plumbing and Irrigation. Click TomLynePlumbing.com today.
The Bellucci Hour is back. It is back at the tap every Monday and Thursday at 6 p.m. thanks to King Ranch Saddle Shop. Join Billy Liucci of TexAgs, TexAgs.com, TexAgs Radio, and the Liucci Cast, along with Zach Taylor, the Infomaniac, and Sports Director of Brian Broadcasting. Monday, Thursday, 6 p.m. It's the Bellucci Hour, happy hour, and it's all thanks to King Ranch Saddle Shop. Let the Bellucci Hour get you ready for Aggie football 2021.
Our publications reach every corner of the Brazos Valley, and we want to partner with you in sharing your message with the community. You may recognize a few of our Brian Broadcasting publications.
Best of the Brazos Valley.
Brazos Life, the annual manual.
Welcome home, Brazos Valley.
Brazos Family. Brazos Wellness.
Brazos Valley Bride.
Peace, Brazos Christian Life.
With the combined power of 7 magazine titles, 11 radio stations, and digital solutions, Brian Broadcasting Publications can help you be heard. Call 979-695-9595 to learn more.
Football season is just around the corner. How do we know? It's our annual SEC football preview. Tune in each weekday afternoon as we listen to the players and coaches who will determine this year's league champ. The SEC football preview brought to you by First Financial Bank, putting you first, and by the UPS stores of College Station. Tune in each weekday afternoon at 4:30 for the SEC football preview, exclusively here on 1150 AM and 93.7 FM.
TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio, playing Stephen McGee's greatest hits. Paragon Financial Advisors, our quarterback. I believe Gabe called him our QB1. Is that the way we phrased it?
I guess. Probably. That sounds familiar.
That sounds right, and he's going to join us here on the BCSI
That's
hotline.
disrespectful to the Tish Tiger in the studio.
He has no idea what you're talking about, Dalton.
I just did a fake laugh just to pretend like I knew. You guys ever do that in company? Like,
all
you
the
have
time.
no clue. I fake laugh my way through life. Hey,
Oh.
what's going on, Steven?
Hey, good morning, guys. Olin was the original OG quarterback. Back in 7th grade, he led the Tish Tigers at quarterback.
6th and 7th grade.
6th and
Back
7th
about
grade.
73 and 74.
Look at this.
Back-to-back years. There's probably a letter jacket for that somewhere.
Back-to-back losing seasons.
The details don't matter. All we know is that he quarterbacked the Tish Tigers. So,
Steve, you
there
know
you
what? I love that you're a financial advisor. I can see it. Dalton, go back to that. I can see the TV on your right shoulder. I love it. I love seeing like stock news and whatnot. I know you're a legit financial advisor.
I don't like
now.
seeing all those red numbers up there, though.
Focus, guys, focus.
Hey, Steven, so our 21 and 21 brought to you by Factory Builder Stores. We're at number 12, and Caleb Chapman is the guy that comes up today. And what a dynamic playmaker for the Aggies. And if he's healthy this year, which it looks like he is, what a difference maker he can be.
Yeah, arguably probably the guy on the offense that's most needed or could have the biggest impact on the football team, because he's the one wide receiver you feel like has really changed the script, if you will, and forced defenses to account for him. That breakout game against Florida, we'd heard a lot about him and the plays he was making through training camps for the previous couple of years he had been here, but you just hadn't really seen it in the actual game. And then he goes out there and has an incredible game. And you hate for him that he's been a little bit injury prone. I think that's the biggest concern with Caleb, is not that he's limited from a gift perspective, but that's something that he can't control, like an injury could limit his production on the field at A&M. But to y'all's point, he is a guy that this offense, I feel like, has to have if they want to compete against teams like Alabama.
Steve, when you have a guy like Caleb Chapman, what does it do for the other wide receivers out there, right? I mean, we have so many different skill position players that are just elite or should be elite. What does it do for the rest of the crew?
Well, I think the one thing it does more than anything is it gives your offense the potential for a huge explosive play on the outside. And so when you look at the Florida game, it was the deep ball, the post shot. They were giving that play up. They were trying to take away tight end. They were trying to slow up the run game. Isaiah Spiller had a big impact. And so the defense you can't have it all, right? And so you got to figure out where you're going to give up. And so most teams want to play single high man-to-man coverage. They want to give up the long ball outside and make a receiver at A&M beat them. And Caleb was a guy that could do that. And so I think it forces your hands defensively that, if he is that kind of a game breaker, you have to make adjustments defensively to account for that. And then that opens up running lanes potentially for Isaiah Spiller, where they're, too high, or another guy, on the inside, or out, Chase Lane or Anaya Smith, so that definitely comes into play. But I think the biggest thing is just that one-on-one matchup outside, making the defense pay.
Yeah, you're a quarterback, so you got Chapman running deep. You got let's say Anais running it out. Maybe Weidemeyer dragging. I don't know what you're doing, Chase Lane, and then say Spiller or A-Chain's coming out in the flat. Where are you looking?
As long as you're looking, you're going to be all right. Yeah, there's a lot of good answers there, and I think that's the beauty of. And that's what has everyone excited. Everything inside, that interior 9, you feel like is going to be really, really special. Offensive line, there's some unknowns. I get that. But you feel like as a unit, they're going to be pretty productive. But, yeah, A-Chain, Spiller, Haynes King running the ball 4-4, willing to run at the quarterback position, first-round pick at tight end, Anaya Smith, who – is one of my favorite players at A&M over the last decade. I'd argue that all day. And so then you put a healthy Caleb Chapman outside. Man, you're talking about a loaded offensive weaponry right there. That's some game changers for sure.
Stephen, this is a dumb topic, but I bring it up because it came up on the show yesterday. Jimbo Fisher, would you put him in the top tier of college coaches? When I say top tier, we know he's one of the top coaches, but I'm saying it's like Saban, Dabo, Jimbo, and then the next group of people. Am I right in my assessment of that?
Yeah, I think he's right there on the outside looking into that group. He's won a national championship, so he deserves to be considered. But I think football is a show me game, and he's been right there on the cusp. But just there's still too large of a gap between A&M and Alabama, and we haven't played Clemson last year, but we did previously, and we competed well against them. But at the end of the day, I think that we're right there in that second tier. Last year was a really, really good year for us. But those great coaches, they stack the years on, and they do it every year. And so I think that's where Jimbo's got to earn it right now is, last year was a great year. Show me what you can do this year. And then I think he definitely deserves to be back in that conversation with the best guys currently. He certainly had a great career as a head coach. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I think he's going to start stacking here. Start last year was the first stack. So it's going to be like going to get pancakes. I'm looking for a large stack.
I believe it's happening, Obi.
Hey, I am too, man. I would love a large stack right now. Jimbo Fisher, you guys know this. I'm a homer. I love him. I think he's the real deal, and I think he's a great football coach. I think he's a mastermind offensively. I think he brings a lot to our staff on game day via X's and O's. But we also know what he can do recruiting wise. And so when you get a football coach that can do both, that can recruit really well and then develop talent on the field, that's a special combination. And I don't think that's something that we've had consistently.
Hey, Stephen, did they have pool parties when they were recruiting you?
No.
Oh. I was wondering if that's what.
Why do we find it funny? It's
what
just
convinced
funny.
you to come to A&M was maybe barbecue and pool parties.
Well, it was the Kane Hall. It was the Kane Hall dining. Did y'all ever eat there?
Yeah,
Obi,
I did. And it was
there?
actually awesome.
It was incredible. I mean, it was, of course, it closed right after I got here, unfortunately, but it was like going to Luby's. You remember Luby's? Have y'all ever been to Luby's?
Of course. Yeah.
Get the Luann platter.
It was better
It was like
than
you
Luby's.
walked in. Yeah, it was better than Luby's though, but it had that feel to it. You walk in there and you had all these choices, and you just go like grab steak dinner, lobster. I mean, they had it all. It was amazing.
All right, Steve. So we'll do this. We'll do That's Bullcrap when we come back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Right now, a moment for the Association of Former Students. I'm a former student. Steven's a former student, and we are a part of that amazing network that you call the Association of Former Students. For over 140 years, financial gifts from that Aggie network have empowered the association to be here, there, and everywhere for Texas A&M and Texas A&M Aggies out there everywhere. And, I've read some of these numbers to you in the past, but just $10,000 recently to the Warrior Scholar Project, $14,950 to mental health programming, $15,000 to the Student Muster Committee, and there's a list that goes on and on and on. I lost touch with them a little bit after college. I don't know, 5 years, 6 years after college. I just didn't renew 1 year, didn't think about it. Then I got lost, and I'm back in. I'm all in because of there's just a great people there, the network themselves, and all they do for people out there. And it's not that expensive to be a part of it. Given to the association is really as simple as just becoming a Century Club member. $100 a year, $9 a month. You're going to get that decal, the plaque, and the Texas Aggie magazine. Plus, you're continuing in the oldest, most inspiring tradition of Aggies helping other Aggies. You need to help them out. To learn more about the impact of the association or to get involved and make a gift, visit aggienetwork.com/giving.
You're listening to The Zone. Aggieland's all sports station.
Hi, Jenny from Big Deals here with a parent alert. It's time to hustle those kids back to school. This year, give yourself a break and shop from the comfort of your couch at your local Big Deals store. And today, you'll save an additional 20% off your entire order just by entering the promo code LEARN at the checkout. Why? Because we think parents are kind of a big deal.
Go
Go to AggieLandBigDeals.com to save an additional 20% today only with promo code LEARN.
If you have a debit card, you're used to spending money. But what if your card actually ended up earning you money? That's not exactly normal, but that's what you can get at A&B. It's called Kasasa Cashback Checking. Don't mind the weird name. What you need to know is that it's a free account with cash rewards. Use your debit card for everyday purchases, and we'll pay you cash back every month. If that doesn't sound like normal banking, well, guess what? We're not a normal bank. So contact A&B today and ask for Kasasa or visit ANB.com. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
The flagship station for Aggie Athletics is The Zone. Whenever the Aggies are playing, you can hear them right here at 1150 and 93.7 FM. Thanks to our listeners and our sponsors for backing the Aggies all season long. First Financial Bank, Bryan College Station Toyota, Rudy's Barbecue, Schulte Roofing, The Sleep Station, and Pioneer Steel. Here's a big gig-em to all these sponsors. Listen to Aggie Athletics on The Zone 1150 and 93.7 FM.
Every year, 4.5 million young adults between the ages of 18 and 24 visit the ER.
It's every parent's nightmare.
Umergency gives you all the tools you need to quickly and effectively manage your family's emergency. Umergency provides instant access to vital resources, customized to your student's campus and local community, digital consent form, and built-in urgent alert button. Umergency gives you peace of mind when you need it most. Download your Umergency app now.
Hey y'all, this is Marty Smith.
And I'm Ryan McGee. And we are
Marty and McGee. Check us out every Saturday morning on ESPN Radio and the SEC Network.
Of course, we'll be all over the biggest news in the world of sports.
And plenty of that Marty and McGee type stuff.
Like the Hillbilly Headlines.
And some of the craziest callers you've ever heard in your life.
It might be the only reason to wake up that early on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, for sure. It's Marty and McGee.
This morning, 6 to 9.
Here on The Zone, 1150 AM and 93.7 FM.
TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. We have this topic for the show that we're going to ask Stephen about here in a moment. Have you ever regretted leaving a game early? And I got a really cool text message just a few minutes ago. I'm going to read it out loud. And my dad's health was declining, and I knew this was our last trip I could ever take with him, was Oklahoma City for A&M in the March Madness of 2016. Since he was moving a little slower, he wanted to go to the bathroom and meet up at the top when the game was over. I wanted to make sure he was going the right way, so I followed him up and watched the game on a monitor. When we were down by 12 under a minute, we started to head to the car, drive back to Fort Worth. All of a sudden, I got so many text messages at once on my phone saying, you have 14 unread messages. People were calling me like crazy. We listened to the game going down 35. When we won, my 80-year-old dad asked me to pull over somewhere in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma, and take a self-me, as he called it in the photo. We pulled over, took the photo. To this day, it's one of my favorite pictures I've ever taken. I can't say I regret leaving now because it was one of the best memories I will ever have with him. And then he did send the picture with it. It's just a very emotional / very nice story to get. So thank you so much for sharing that there on the A&B text line. Stephen, you ever leave a game early and you're like, why did I leave that one early?
I did. I remember leaving the Tennessee game a little bit early for the same reasons. We were trying to get to the Mexican food restaurant early, beat the crowd out. And when we did, of course, what was it? OB, was that a 3 overtime win?
I think it was 2.
With Trevor,
it was 2
overtime win with Trevor Knight, and I think their quarterback was Josh Dobbs at the time, and it was a thriller. And so I was sitting in a Mexican food restaurant enjoying chips and salsa, waiting on the rest of the crowd as they enjoyed the game. So that's what I get for leaving early.
Very frustrated with that Kamara guy from Tennessee.
Yeah, he's kind of good.
It turns out he was really good, yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty special.
All right, it is now time for That's Bullcrap, presented by Tom Line Plumbing. For service you can trust, consider Tom Line Plumbing, a great friend of Stephen McGee, longtime trusted plumber in and around the Brazos Valley. Check out their website, tomlineplumbing.com. Steve, what is Bullcrap?
Well, my lighthearted Bullcrap of the day, well, I know a lot of people listen via podcast or radio, so you can't see this, but it's a coffee cup. And so I stopped by this place called Dutch Brothers Coffee. And Dutch Brothers Coffee is packed all the time. And so, you know what, I was like, I drink a coffee at the office every morning. I was like, let me just try this thing and see what all these kids are talking about. And so I pull up, I'm in line for about 15 minutes. I finally get up there. Nice young lady comes up to my window and says, what would you like? And I said, I would like a medium black coffee, no cream, no sugar. And she goes, "Sir, we actually do not sell coffee."
What?
Yeah. Did you know? They don't sell coffee. You can only get an Americano with warm water.
I had no idea. Of course, I don't drink coffee.
There goes that sponsorship. But that being said, that surprised me.
My son loves to go there. I don't know what he orders.
The kids love it.
It's good. It's solid. For not a coffee, it's good. But I just felt like I was a little bit misled there.
Yeah. I'd recommend Floyd Raven's place from now on.
Yes. The problem is this place is right on my exit on Rock Prairie Road every day. So it's just convenient.
Yeah. Well, it's like going to KFC, not getting chicken. All right, OB, what do you got?
We love Connor O'Gara. He does a good job and everything, but Saturday down south, he ranked the top 25 players in the SEC, and he had 4 Aggies on there, so you can't get mad, except that he had 4 running backs on his list in the top 20, and none of them are Isaiah Spiller. Are you really going to try to convince me that Christian Rodriguez and Jerrion Ely are better than Isaiah Spiller?
Well,
I ain't buying it. I think that's bullcrap.
I've got him on the show tomorrow. I will ask Connor about that. I think it's bullcrap that the Texans tried to pull a fast one on the media, reading on the Chronicle that they tried to say only 20 minutes during training camp. They're supposed to be completely open to the media, and they were trying to shut that down. And the NFL stepped in and said, no, training camp until the end of August is open for the media.
Do the Texans do anything right?
They do nothing right.
Okay. Just want to make sure it wasn't just me.
Steven, man, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I say I think it's time for some new ownership down in Houston.
He was the heart of your
family. If they would have kept
and
Steven for
he
one
taught
more
you
week.
our history. He helped you fix your first flat.
Sorry, guys.
I think Steven
See you guys.
his pension if he.
Connection has never been more important, but there is something we can do. Embrace our older loved ones through StoryCorps Connect. With StoryCorps Connect, you can honor seniors remotely with an interview about their life. Every interview will be archived at the Library of Congress, becoming part of American history, so that years from now, future generations can listen in.
All right, Grandpa, what's one piece of advice you have for me?
Just 3 words, sweetheart. Live with courage. The man that had the best stories still has plenty of stories to tell. So connect virtually and share the conversation of a lifetime at storycorpsconnect.org/AARP. Connect, honor, share. StoryCorps Connect. A message from AARP, StoryCorps, and the Ad Council.
You can listen to your favorite shows, Louie, Chip, TexAgs, or Paul Feinbaum online at RadioAggieland.com or Zone1150.com. This is KZNE College Station Bryan, Aggieland's home for sports.
From WTAW, this is a news update on the Zone. Bryan City Council's monthly update on capital improvement projects did not include what's happening with the Phillips Event Center building, which was damaged following the February winter storm. But Deputy City Manager Hugh Walker provided updates about what's happening on the golf course.
Staff began to remove dead trees at the city course last week, and approximately 50 trees will be removed over the course of the next 2 weeks or so.
Walker says golfers should be able to use regular greens, which have been replaced, around September 20th. City of College Station advises those who use Castlegate Park that the tennis and basketball courts are closed starting today. Those courts are being resurfaced. Weather permitting, the courts will reopen in the next 5 to 7 days. Texas A&M police investigating a home invasion burglary. Someone living at Park West Apartments returned home yesterday afternoon to discover a stranger inside doing laundry. Suspect, described as a former tenant, is accused of forcing their way inside. Suspect left and the victim was not injured. Anyone with information has to contact UPD. Brazos County residents continue to be told to watch out for mosquitoes after the health district reports for the 3rd time finding mosquitoes have tested positive for West Nile virus. Those skeeters tested positive in the College Station zip code of 77845. Health district has not reported any West Nile infections in people. Governor Abbott announces children who undergo surgery for gender reassignment constitutes child abuse. It's after the governor received a letter from the State Commissioner of Family and Protective Services stating in part that generally children in the care and custody of a parent lack the legal capacity to consent to surgical treatments, making them more vulnerable. Read the commissioner's letter and the governor's news release at WTAW.com, where you'll find more news in English and Spanish. That's a news update on The Zone.
AggielandBigDeals.com. Shop local, buy local, save big. I'm struggling, can't pay full price. How about Aggieland Big Deals? Yeah, that's right. I'll be shopping local and saving big with discounts up to 30% on food, clothes, and car repair, or even entertainment and personal care. Is it really gonna be convenient though? Just download the app right on your phone. Oh man, that's slick. Now I'm all in. Those digital certificates are fun to spend. Plus I can print and send gifts along at AggielandBigDeals.com.
Hey, it's David Nuño. Texas known for football, barbecue, and hot summer temperatures. And typically, the hotter the weather, the higher your electricity bill. But with some help from Energy Ogre, a Texas technology company, you can lower your bill by up to 40%. In fact, we signed up 2 years ago, and they saved my family 35%. Energy Ogre will find you the cheapest electricity plan in your area. Manage all future contracts, saving you time and money. Go to EnergyOgre.com and enter code HOWDY for a free month of service. That's EnergyOgre.com to start saving today.
Good morning, sports fans. I'm Zach Taylor with your Aggie Sports Minute on The Zone. This Sports Minute is brought to you by Hilco Metal Roofing and Supply. Call 936-825-0500 or click HilcoSupply.com. Texas A&M defensive coordinator Mike Elko enters his 4th season in Aggieland. The 22-year coaching veteran has had his name mentioned for head jobs the last several off seasons, but says he's never wavered from A&M.
It's the same thing every year, Brett. I think you guys make a lot more of that than I do. I've never really been looking to go anywhere. Obviously, opportunities present themselves, and as an assistant, you got to look at them, but I've never come close to leaving. We're extremely happy here, and we're excited for the season.
Now, the Aggie defense ranked 9th in the country last year, and a big reason for that was veteran safety Damani Richardson, Elko on his 2-year starter.
He's a thicker, more physical, extremely athletic safety. And so, I've had some guys that were lengthy, more free safety types that have been really good. Damani's a little bit different in that regard.
And for more insight into fall camp, tune into the Liucci Hour tonight from 6 to 7 right here on The Zone. Aggie soccer opened up its exhibition slate last night, playing North Texas to a 1-1 draw. Freshman Micaiah McDonald scored the lone goal for the Maroon and White, finding the net in the 74th minute. And that's been your Aggie Sports Minute, brought to you by Hilco Metal Roofing and Supply. On The Zone, I'm Zach Taylor.
The flagship station for Aggie Athletics is The Zone. Whenever the Aggies are playing, you can hear them right here at 1150 and 93.7 FM. Thank you to all our listeners and our sponsors for backing the Aggies all year long. Cooper's Old Time Pit Barbecue, Swartman Flooring, Prosperity Bank, Hargrove Insurance, Park at Traditions Exceptional Senior Living, Cherry Rufino Broker Realtor with Coldwell Banker Apex Realtors, and Amarillo National Bank. Here's a big gig-em to all these sponsors. Listen to Aggie Athletics on The Zone 1150 and 93.7 FM.
TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Get on the YouTube page right now. Get on TexAgs.com/live and check it out. We are going to be talking about a lot of things this next hour. And the topic of the day, have you ever regretted leaving a game early? And our next guest, I can guarantee, has not left a game early that he's worked on. Maybe as a fan at some point. Andrew Monaco, the voice of the Aggies here. How are you, sir?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great, man. I'm so excited to get to talk to you because I followed your career even before you got here to A&M. Is this season number 4?
Season number 4.
Goodness,
yeah.
Man. Time flies.
Somehow I got an extension. I don't know. They had every chance to get rid of me in the first 3, but
how's the transition gone now? That because I'm going through a similar transition following I'm not going to call Gabe a legend, but he's kind of a legend in his own mind. I love Gabe. No, but following a guy who did it so well for so long and at a high level, how was that for you? Intimidating, fun?
No, if Dave were not so welcoming and, hey, what do you need to know? I think it would have been a lot more difficult. but that wasn't the case at all. And the other welcoming thing is Aggie fans were absolutely welcoming. So that made it an awful lot easier. So that was just the wonderful part of it. I always joke, 33 years, if a job only opens every 33 years, you got to go take it. And when you're following someone like Dave South, class, the epitome,
right?
Icon. I know we throw that word around.
He is absolutely an icon.
He's the soundtrack of at least a couple generations of Aggie fans. But for him being so welcoming and it was really not getting in the way, anything like that, can always go to advice, and that he's a friend made it a ton easier, that's for sure.
And coming in with Jimbo here, like people are giving me a hard time, like, oh, now you get to come back to College Station. You joined right when, Jimbo's getting started and things are going great. How has that been?
The first show we did, his first coach's show, he came into Rudy's and large applause. So I had to test and see, okay, I hope he has a sense of humor. And I turned to him as the show opened. I said, I thought all that was for me. So he did laugh. It's been fantastic. And the relationship has been fantastic. Not just the every week on that show where you learn an awful lot and just the information that you get from a Jimbo Fisher. But being able to go in the spring to all the coaches' nights that we were able to do around the state this past May and just being around him. I'm spoiled with Jimbo Fisher, Buzz Williams, and now Jim Schlossnagel. That's an unbelievable trio right there.
It is. I said at our kickoff a couple weeks back that I think we're entering the glory years of A&M athletics in general. I mean, we know what Gary Blair's been able to do with the women's program, what G's doing there with soccer, obviously Pat Henry with track and field and whatnot. Jimbo, to me, legendary status. Schloss, Buzz, I think, is turning it around. This is just a really good time in Aggie athletics.
And I like all three people, not just the coaches, the people. I so many times during Jimbo's show and Buzz's show, they become life lessons as opposed to just the sports lessons. I just think when you have coaches like that, it is to put you trust your son or your daughter with those coaches, and you have to, as a parent, you would have to be so pleased to know that. And after 4 years, all those lessons, everything that you've learned, what they learn about themselves because of those coaches. It's why I always say, anytime around Aggie student athletes, our future, we're in really good hands because they are just quality young men and women, that's for sure.
How was it working with Pop?
You know what? We did not have to interview Pop at the end of the third quarter, so we were great.
Okay. makes a difference. He's one that I am okay with his attitude, if you will, with some people because he's a winner and he's great and he's very funny in my opinion. There's others that I've dealt with, maybe the former Texans head coach, that were a little rough with the media that didn't win. So, or at that kind of level at least. So it's nice knowing people around. Everybody who's been around Pop says he's great.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. I mean, just one of the smartest people I know. It's more than just basketball. Now, I guess if you've been there 23, 24 years, it's easy. It wasn't like that before they won their first championship. It was, it was more difficult, but he's earned that. But he's the same way with his players. It's more than just NBA basketball. Yes, that's important, and you're going to do that. But he's going to open up a world to them. If you're going to be in Washington, D.C., you know what? There's a field trip, so to speak. We're going to go to the Holocaust Museum, or we're going to go to a Civil Rights Museum, or there's more. What can we expose all these athletes to? Yes, I know they're adults, but what can we do? That's one of the many things. And you talk about culture. You either live it or you just say it. And that's part of it. The Spurs had that culture, and that's what they stand by. You want to be a part of that? That's what it is. And he's one of the big reasons for that.
Andrew Monaco with us here in studio, and we're getting a lot of text messages on the A&B text line. I'm going to read you this one from Sandy. My day is made with Andrew on the show. Love your insight and your delivery and your interaction with the passionate Aggies. Keep doing what you're doing all the way to the championship game this year. And I really, look, I don't know if we're going to win a national championship. I don't know if we're going to make the college football playoffs, but it feels like we're going to do it, if not this year, next year. So, like, there's a feeling around the program that I haven't felt in a very long time, and it feels like sustainable success as well.
I agree. It's a quiet confidence. They had all come through 12th Man Productions for, we call it the car wash, 3 days of Ask the Aggies, what's going to be on the boards at Kyle Field, and you could just get a chance to talk with them. We did some stuff for the Pulse. We're going to do some stuff for our radio shows. There is that quiet confidence. The right leaders came back for that 5th season. I think that's important. Some schools have chuckleheads coming back for that 5th, and coaches have to find a way to get rid of them. But I think they're going to be the leaders. And then when you talk to the incoming players, it's that same attitude. They can't wait to be here, not for themselves, but for this program. And I think that is what's throughout this entire program is that confidence. The guys coming back know what it takes to go 9-1. That's the Monday through Friday part of it, and then do it on Saturday. And now they are going to teach the incoming players, this is the way we do it. I brought up the word culture. That's what's here. That's what Jimbo has instilled, or as he would say, that's what the players have instilled. Players recruit players. You bring in the right ones who it's about Texas A&M and not about themselves. That was that quiet confidence that I really noticed as they came through and we got a chance to talk with them.
You mentioned quiet confidence. I'm watching at practice last week. The way they walk,
correct.
There's they just know, we're here. The way they communicate with each other, the way they take the sets before practice. I'm watching Michael Clemens work, and just before practice, how hard he's going. I tell my kids all the time, there's a price to pay to be great, and they're doing it. They're putting in the work, they're putting in the attitude and the focus.
But not just the motions, right?
Right, correct.
It's a big difference. Now, if you are a D lineman and you see Michael Clemens doing that, how can you take a play off? You can't, because you're going to have to answer to Michael, or you're going to have to answer to Marv. When you have to answer to a teammate, same thing in that secondary, it's the same thing. The one thing I'd love to do at practice, I like to see who's first in a drill, because that person can't mess up, right? But if they do, they take the heat, not their teammates.
Right.
So to me, I'm always interested who's first in a drill. Are they going to do it the right way? And more times than not, you're going to see the experienced player do it, because he's going to set the tone for the rest of that drill. And you talked about just walking and getting work done. There's no downtime. They know that we have these 2 hours to practice. We're going to get all this work in. I asked Jimbo one time, he kept talking about tempo. And I thought it was about Saturday's opponent. He said, no, we only have so many hours to practice. I want to get as many plays, let them perfect their craft as many times as possible. You're seeing that now with this group.
All right, so this is their preseason, their fall camp, getting ready. How do you get ready for a season? What goes into what you're doing here in August?
It's a little easier now because not as many numbers have changed, but names to numbers and to see who is where. So come Saturday, who's going to be, we get the 2 deeps, but what's a little deeper than to see who's on the special teams, to see, so-and-so's practicing here. So when it happens, you kind of know that. Just getting familiar with that. And then some of the backstories. That's nice about getting the one-on-one time with the players, to get those backstories that we can tell on the air. Talk with Dave, talk with Will about that becomes a point, especially if so-and-so makes a play or it comes to a time we've got some time to fill. Anytime you can tell stories about these student athletes, it's wonderful.
So we do this series called 21 and 21, presented by Factory Builder Stores, and we're kind of going through the top 21 players on the A&M roster. And today we're at number 12, Caleb Chapman. How big can he be for this offense this year?
Stretch that to defense, right? No longer can that defense play so close to the line and try to stop the run or the short passes. Now, if you can go deep, it kind of loosens them up. And the moment you loosen that up, it kind of opens up everything else. Just so many weapons. This team is deeper than I think it's been under Jimbo Fisher, but it's also more talented. And there's going to be a lot more names that you're going to see because there is that talent. But someone like Caleb, you saw against Florida, get deep. It kind of opens up everything else. That passing game, for him to go deep, now you're not playing as close to the line. Does that open it up for the Isaiah Spillers and for the Devon H? And to me, to be able to give Jimbo all those pieces to the puzzle, he's going to make it fit.
And then you're like, okay, and there's Aniyah Smith.
Correct.
And there's Damon Demas, who I think is going to have a big year. There's so many different weapons. And then what you can do for mismatches with when you put Aniyah in the back or you move them, split them out, I mean, it confuses the defense. And depending on the personnel they have out there, they don't have the infrastructure to stop it.
That's the whole thing. Now it becomes mismatches, and you have to find, in any sport, right? You want to find the mismatch. The beauty of watching a Jimbo Fisher coach team is when I have the mismatch, we don't go to it once and then say, okay, we did that. Let's do something else. Nope, you keep doing it until that defense stops it. And if they don't, you keep doing it again. But I think there's a ton of versatility on this offense. I think you add, not that Kellen couldn't run, because he could, and we saw that effectiveness, but Haynes can do it. And as Jimbo Fisher was saying about both his coaches, we know Haynes is athletic, but he can throw the ball. We know that Zach can throw the ball, but he's more athletic. He's always going to have a complete player, whether it's under center, whether it's on the outside, they're going to be complete. The other thing I think fans have to understand is Jimbo's not going to put somebody out there on a Saturday and hope he gets the play down. That's the Monday through Friday. And that's what you see in a lot of this fall camp, is not just technique, but that can you perfect this play? That's what's going on out there. And to your point, when you see that Michael Clemens still working on his technique, when you see any player wanting to get better, I think that goes throughout the entire program.
And I think that is something you can see in any organization. When you have the top dog who's modeling the behavior that you're supposed to do, you have to follow suit or you don't fit in.
Right. I agree with that. And I know we're going to have a new quarterback, but both Haynes King and Zach Calzada saw how Kellen was coached by Jimbo Fisher. That's going to be very important because now it's on them. I think the one thing I really liked that Haynes said to us a couple weeks ago, he asked, the quarterback competition. He says, I'm not competing against Zach. I'm competing against Coach Elko's defense. How valuable is that, especially in the fall? All those looks, all that talent, you hear so much of iron sharpens iron, but whether it's that offensive line going up against the defensive line or the other way around or the receivers and those DBs, you can't help but get better every single day. I'm not saying Saturday is easy, but it should make Saturdays a lot easier because you've already passed that test every single day of the week.
Can you stick around for one more segment?
Certainly will.
All right, because I want to talk to you about the quarterbacks. I want to talk to you about the offensive line because those are questions that we have. And also maybe give you a little time to think about a game that you may have left early that you shouldn't have, but you've been in the business so long. I know, since I've been in the business, I have not left a game early. But right now I want to talk about my friends here at Aggieland Outfitters. We love what they do. We love all the selection that they have. And if you can text radio to 900-900, that'll be your chance to win the Big Friday giveaway thanks to our friends at Aggieland Outfitters. We're going to unveil that winner during the 10 o'clock hour of Friday's show. And I do this little move, always on the air. I go and I grab the shirt, all right? Because feeling it makes it more real, right? For you listeners on the radio, on the zone, you're like, I can't see it. Just trust me. When I say I touch it, it feels amazing. It does. It's the Tommy Bahama, the one I'm doing right now. It is the Tommy Bahama Del Rey Polo, soft and lightweight, perfect for game days. I'm telling you, Andrew's got a great looking shirt on. Have this one next to him. You guys are going to be like legit Aggie fans out there. The fabric is easy care, moisture wicking, UPF 30 protection from UV rays, 2-button placket, tonal fabric piecing details, and sporty stitching on there as well. The beveled A&M logo embroidered on the left chest, the Tommy Bahama Marlin logo on the back of the neck. You got to have that, right? It's like that little logo on the back. People, this guy's part of the crew. He's part of the Tommy Bahama crew, and he's an Aggie. Forget about it. $118.99. Our friends there at Aggieland Outfitters.
You're listening to The Zone. The Zone. 1150 AM. Sports Radio. And 93.7 FM.
Oh, according to research, 82% of people remember radio ads. That means that 82% of you listening right now will remember that this is an ad for ZipRecruiter. If you're hiring, 82% of you will recall that ZipRecruiter makes hiring faster and easier. And 82% of you will note that you can try ZipRecruiter for free today. But you have to go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Yes, free. 82% of you will keep in mind that ZipRecruiter's technology finds qualified people for your job and actively invites them to apply.
Is that you? Who are you talking to?
82% of you will also know that I, live with my mom. But the most important thing to note is that ZipRecruiter works. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Will you be part of the 82% who remember where you can try ZipRecruiter for free? It's ZipRecruiter.com/free. Again, that exclusive link is ZipRecruiter.com/free. How much? Free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
We have trucks. Yes, at Tom White Chevrolet, we have the cars, trucks, and SUVs you want today. New, used, and certified pre-owned. We have more stock coming in daily, and we won't be beat on price. And if you need quick cash, we are buying cars even if you don't buy from us. All roads lead to Tom White Chevrolet in Bryan College Station. Chevy, find new roads. More details at TomLight.com.
Tom Light Chevrolet. We're here for you every day.
Our publications reach every corner of the Brazos Valley, and we want to partner with you in sharing your message with the community. You may recognize a few of our Bryan Broadcasting publications.
Best of the Brazos Valley.
Brazos Life, the annual manual.
Welcome home, Brazos Valley.
Brazos Family.
Brazos Wellness.
Brazos Valley Bride.
Peace, Brazos Christian Life.
With the combined power of 7 magazine titles, 11 radio stations, and digital solutions, Bryan Broadcasting Publications can help you be heard. Call 979-695-9595 to learn more.
Today, millions of people all across America are building a life in recovery from addiction and mental illness, helping themselves
and helping each other, with friends, family, and community lending their strength and support.
Join the Voices for Recovery.
Together, we are stronger.
For 24-hour free and confidential information and treatment referral for mental and substance use disorders, for you or someone you know, call 1-800-662-HELP.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
The best is yet to come in College Station.
Chase Lane is in for a touchdown! Yes!
Head coach Jimbo Fisher and the Aggies are ready to rise to the top of the SEC.
Swing to Anias, he's in the end zone, a 6-yard reception.
Join us Saturday, September 4th. It's the season opener versus the Kent State Golden Flashes on your home for Aggies football, the Texas A&M Sports Network.
Listen to Aggie football on 1150 AM and 93.7 FM. Online at radioaggieland.com. Or tell your smart speaker to play Zone 1150.
So good for Andrew that he's not listening to the music playing in the background. So the first hour and a half of the show we've been streaming on YouTube, and there's some copyright rules out there. So we got to play the YouTube jams, and some of them are not so good. It is TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio, hanging out with Andrew Monaco for another segment. So let's talk a little bit about the quarterback situation. I was reading an article today in College Football News, and it reminded me 9 of the top 13 teams in the country have a new starting quarterback. Yeah. Yet whenever they talk about A&M, that is one of the first things they talk about. And the 2 guys that are vying for that position have a lot of game. Yeah. And in fact, Haynes has won a state championship. Your thoughts heading into this season, having some winners back there?
My thought, I'm going to ask you a question to answer your question. How come it's never affecting Alabama like it affects Texas A&M? Having a new quarterback, but they still have as high a rating.
So I think the only reason is because Nick Saban is on a different level and they feel that he can manipulate the situation to work. That being said, I think Jimbo is on that same tier or step below. Obviously, nobody's at Nick Saban's level, but Jimbo's that next guy knocking on that door.
I agree with that. See, Alabama has proven they have done it. Now it's time for Texas A&M to prove that the Aggies belong on that level, knocking on the door for the CFP or being just outside. And again, you mentioned something that I think goes into evaluation, a reason why certain guys succeed. Haynes King, a winner. Zach Calzada, a winner. When you have winning in your past, it becomes part of your DNA. And once again, you know what it takes. You have got to know if you're going to play for Jimbo Fisher. You better know the playbook. You better be able to speak his language. You better be able to take it to another level because for all the practices this month where he's going to be behind you on that field, he's no longer behind you on a Saturday. So you guys have to be able to see the same things. And I think they both possess that. If they didn't, it wouldn't be a competition. Right. The other thing he says, and I'm going to go back to 3 years of Kellen Mond and Nick Starkel when the job was up for grabs. He always said the team will pick your quarterback. So some of it is out of his hands. The team will pick. But if you talk to any of those players on the team, they love both those guys. And they love who they have brought in. But you have to know there is a certain standard. Jimbo is going to be hard on his quarterbacks. Guess what? Jimbo's going to be hard on his wide receivers. He's always said receivers should be quarterbacks, quarterbacks should be receivers, so they can get into each other's minds and know exactly what they're going through. But I think your point about winning in the past, that means a lot. Same thing as coach's son. You know what it takes. And John King that's all he did was win there in Longview.
Well, you mentioned the wide receivers and quarterbacks flip-flopping. You look at some of the best CEOs in the world. They have done every position of their company.
Correct.
They built it. And I think there's something to be said about understanding the entire offense.
David, I have a friend who he owns a mortgage company, will not hire anybody who hasn't been in team sports because it's along those lines. Not just that team player, but you're right. The successful ones don't just stay up on that cliff and look down and demand that this happen. You're right. They have been there in each of those roles, and you understand when someone comes to you with a problem. How can we solve this? I've been in your shoes, and that's, to me, it's important. You have to have that understanding, and that's why, in practice, can you look and see what happens during the downtime? If you have 95 players all on their own, bad sign. But when you have groups of players, and it doesn't even have to be in the same position,
sure,
when you see them together for those 5 minutes, enjoying, and then going back and competing, now you know you have something special.
I'm going to use my career as an example, and I'm sure you went through something similar. I think I'm a better reporter/commentator because I've done every role in the media, from shooting my own stuff, editing my own stuff, carrying equipment, learning the behind-the-scenes things, to whenever you have to report. People who out of college go into a top 10 market job usually don't have, they may have the face and the voice. They may not have the other resources to them.
Believe me, if you are going to be a jerk to your crew, they're going to hang you out to dry.
Sure.
They could care less. We were talking about coming here to this job. How fortunate is it? I had the confidence in myself, but how much better is it that I get to stand beside Dave Elmendorf every Saturday, that I get to do basketball with Dr. John Thornton, that I've got Scott Clendenin, Will Johnson, John Sheshik in the baseball booth. That's what you don't know coming in. And now it just becomes even better when you get to be partnered with people like that. Again, just 2 or 3 guys watching a game is really all it is. But understanding that my producer back at Learfield, we've got to be on that same page. And I've been that board op who's worked games on holidays.
Sure.
You know what I mean? When there's no one else in the station, you understand what they're going through. So if there is a mistake, I'm going to come down on him or her? I can't do that. I've been there. I'm the one who hasn't pressed the button quickly enough.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
We've all been there. So let's talk a little bit about the offensive line. Another question mark there because of the 4 new starters. But I believe the talent there, if they reach that level, and the chemistry is a big part of it,
correct,
could be as good or better.
Yeah, I agree, because you have a Kenyon Green, an All-American, right? You have a Layden Robinson who took snaps in the SEC, was absolutely dominant in the South Carolina win there in Columbia. You've got Luke Matthews, who has taken SEC snaps. You've got Jameer Johnson, who comes from Tennessee, who was there in the fire. Not only the grad and that experience bringing in, but he's got SEC experience. So you have that. And we have to remember the Maroon Goons last year needed a little bit of time to mesh as well. That's going to come, and that comes with the reps. Jimbo Fisher has moved them around, not just in the spring. He'll probably do that in the fall. Once again, understanding, okay, if the guy next to me is going through this, you have that understanding as well. I think that happens on the offensive line. Also, your tight ends, this is why I love Jalen Weidemeyer. Wants to be the complete tight end, that includes the blocking part of it. So that becomes your 6th offensive lineman. And it's the same thing with, you love Aniyah Smith for every catch and every juke, and when he can jam that foot in the dirt and leave somebody frozen, but he's also going to be there in pass protection and protecting his quarterback. It all has to be in concert. But I'm with you. It's going to take a little bit of time, but don't think that time for them is, we've got to be ready for October 9th just because it's Alabama. They'll be ready September 4th, but that doesn't mean they can't keep getting better, because the more snaps together, the more that we're going to be really, really good, I think.
Running out of time, we didn't really focus as much on the defense, but let's talk about it. 9 returning starters. I mean, just Adonis. I mean, you got huge guys, 6-year star. I mean, you've got the super seniors. You've got Marv, who's going to be probably a top 5 pick.
Yeah.
What a loaded D.
Yeah, and I think that's, you get lost because we as fans look at offenses when we talk about teams, right? I like that number 9 coming back, and I think it's the right 9 coming back to set that tone. I think that D-line, Jimbo says, guys with the hands in the dirt, that D-line is going to disrupt an awful lot of offensive lines on Saturdays. I love the depth at linebacker as well. They can go get it. and on that back end. Dave Elmendorf, my partner, the former safety, right, with here and with the Rams, always said that front four can set up the back seven, and sometimes that coverage will allow those sacks for that front four. I like that they're working in concert. And if we talk about Jimbo's offense, let's talk about now 4 years under Coach Mike Elko on defense.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Pleasure, my friend.
We're going to do it more often, right?
Absolutely.
All right, Andrew Monaco, thank you so much. Right now, I want you guys to picture what was happening on YouTube earlier. You got this Longhorn on there talking on our YouTube channel, talking mess. Let's just pretend, for instance, that you met up with that guy and you guys got into a little Anchorman squabble, and then there was a broken nose and your elbows hurt, and he's for sure more hurt because we're Aggies, right? Let's just pretend that for a moment. And you're in town and you're a nice guy, you're an Aggie, like, you know what, little Longhorn guy, let's go to the emergency room. You're going to go to Cap Rock. That's right, Cap Rock Emergency is the place to go. Their health system is amazing. They've got locations all over town, locally owned and operated. They're the best guys out there, and their sole purpose is to make you feel better. You got emergency care, hospital admission, telehealth. We all know how big telehealth has become here over the last year and a half. So if you can't make it in, you can, get on your computer and talk to a doctor live right there. They are incredible. The locations, original 24-hour ER in South College Station, voted the best in the Brazos Valley. Cap Rock Hospital with ER in Bryan. Facilities are state-of-the-art, designed for patient healing and family friendliness. Cap Rock ER Hospital's facilities are fully capable of treating all emergency medical needs.
I'm Chelsea Reber with your community calendar on the Zone. Life Point Christian Church is hosting a community event on Saturday from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Free food, clothing, and toiletries will be available for those in need. Find the event on Facebook for more information. Living with Grief is a 13-week grief share program for those who have suffered the loss of a loved one. It starts Sunday. Call Bethel Lutheran Church for more information. The Elizabeth House Maternity Home Annual Banquet is Thursday, September 16th at the Ice House on Main. The Elizabeth House continues to help women in crisis pregnancy have all the tools they need to be successful mothers and successful members of the community. Find more at elizabethhousematernityhome.com. Stop by the Tap for dinner and a drink or listen in on the Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM. Join the Bellucci Hour, powered by King Ranch Saddle Shop, every Monday and Thursday night at 6. You can also listen online at radioaggieland.com. I'm Chelsea Reber on the Zone.
Here's Brad Beard of Intercon.
If you have considered replacing the windows in your brick veneer home, you may have been told that it would be necessary to either remove the brick or tear up the inside of your window box. You need to know that Intercon replaces windows and brick every day, and we don't tear up anything except the window which is being removed. By installing windows every day, Intercon personnel have worked out methods which result in the replacement windows being at least as neat and effectively installed as your windows were when they were new. This means that Intercon can furnish and install replacement windows which exceed today's tighter standards for efficiency. They look and perform just as well as the best windows in brand new homes. Call Intercon or visit our showroom and we will furnish you customer references for homes you can look at and homeowners you probably know who can tell you that Intercon can solve your window problems without wrecking your home or your budget, just as we did theirs. Intercon will furnish a free quote and we won't pressure you to buy.
Whether you have new construction or an existing home, let the fine folks from Intercon help your home energy efficiency year-round. Call Brad Beard of Intercon today at 823-3639. That's 823-3639.
The flagship station for Aggie Athletics is The Zone. Whenever the Aggies are playing, you can hear them right here at 1150 and 93.7 FM. Thanks to our listeners and our sponsors for backing the Aggies all season long. First Financial Bank, Bryan College Station Toyota, Rudy's Barbecue, Schulte Roofing, The Sleep Station, and Pioneer Steel. Here's a big gig 'em to all these sponsors. Listen to Aggie Athletics on The Zone 1150 and 93.7 FM.
Listening to The Zone on your Amazon Daughter Echo is easy. Even Louie figured it out. 2 simple steps, and you can hear Chip Howard Sports Talk, TexAgs Radio, The Louie Bellina Show, and many of your favorite A&M teams anytime, anywhere with your special friend, Alexa. Step 1, and only one time, say, Alexa, enable Zone 1150 skill. Then anytime you want to hear your favorite host or teams, all you have to do is say, Alexa, play Zone 1150. Make sure to set it all up and say, Alexa, enable Zone 1150 skill, and listen in anytime just by saying, Alexa, play Zone 1150.
.1973 called. They want their music back. It is TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio, the official insurance provider of TexAgs Radio. The difference is real. Rollo Insurance, an independent insurance company built around educating you on exactly what you're paying for, doing the shopping for you so that you can accomplish all of your insurance goals. The headquarters is on Highway 6 right here in College Station. Call 888-44-ROLLO or go to rolloinsurance.com. And with that, we go to the BCSI hotline. Aaron Torres of Fox Sports joining the show. Good morning to you, Aaron.
David, my man, what is going on? How are you?
We're good, man. So we're having some fun on the show, and I have this topic. And,
always.
I'm going to throw it out at you because I've left games early in my life before I was in the media. Have you ever regretted leaving a game early, and which game was that?
So I'll tell you a funny story. I'm not a leave a game early kind of guy. And keep in mind, I went to UConn, and I went there when they were actually good with Dan Orlovsky. So there were some early December games that were pretty tough to sit through at the end. But fun fact about me, a lot of people don't know, I was at the 6 overtime Syracuse-UConn game, basketball, college basketball, okay? People forget Eric Devendorf from Syracuse hits a buzzer beater at the end of regulation that looks like it is good off of his fingertips. Two punk Syracuse fans in front of me, high five, we're out of here, we're catching the train out of the city. They go to monitor, was not good, goes to overtime, goes to a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth overtime, a historic game. And I always wonder what happened to those two guys. I always think whenever this topic comes up, I always wonder what happened to those guys. That's what they get for being Syracuse fans, I guess.
Man, I remember watching that game on TV. That's a lifetime ago, but good times. And for you to experience that's pretty incredible. Let's talk a little bit about the way football is perceived in different areas, right? So
sure.
When I talked about this with Andrew Monaco a moment ago, 9 of the top 13 teams have new quarterbacks coming in. But when you hear about A&M, it's always about the quarterback or the offensive line. I think you probably hear those question marks with those other programs as well sometimes, but I feel like it's the loudest whisper, the loudest question mark for A&M. Is that a huge question mark for you?
It is. One, I think it's a few things. First of all, the Jimbo Fisher experience is still relatively new, and Kellen Mond was his only guy. Now, clearly, Jimbo Fisher developed Jameis Winston into a first-rounder, E.J. Manuel into a first-rounder, so it's not as though this is his first rodeo. But I think when you look at A&M, they just don't have the track record. I mean, Saban had McCarron, Blake Sims, and these guys aren't all huge names, but, it doesn't seem to matter who's at Alabama, Tua, Mac Jones. The next guy is perceived that he's going to have success, Jalen Hurts. Clemson, it's kind of been the same now. We have 6-7 years of Deshaun Watson to Trevor Lawrence to now DJ Uiagalelei. Ryan Day is the quarterback whisperer. Lincoln Riley is the quarterback whisperer. But it's a good point by you. Jimbo Fisher is a quarterback whisperer, too. So it is interesting. I hadn't really taken that into consideration. I guess maybe because the offense isn't perceived to be as dynamic and, whatever as a Ryan Day or a Lincoln Riley offense. Maybe part of that is the competition A&M plays as opposed to having 8 layups in the Big Ten every year. But it's interesting. I hadn't really thought about that, but I think it's actually a great point by you, David. I hadn't really considered why A&M seems to be the only one where that's a huge, huge, huge concern.
And I think the main reason is history, right? Ohio State's been doing it at a very high level for a long time. A&M is on that trajectory. They just haven't proven it to everybody out there. We see it every day. And when you talk about the big play offense, one of the subjects of today's 21 and 21 is Caleb Chapman. With a returning Caleb Chapman from injury, the big plays might come back for A&M.
Well, and that's why I'm just really excited to see this team, because the thing that I will say about them is, and it's a little bit different, right? Like Ohio State is just so much more talented than everybody else in the Big Ten that you really don't really worry about the quarterback, because you think like, even if they take an L somewhere, they're so talented, they're going to get to the Big Ten championship game and win. Where A&M, if that piece is there, that is what makes A&M right back in that conversation for a college football playoff berth. Because as you said, the defense, I don't think people realize how good this defense was last year and how much is returning this year. I think I saw Leon O'Neal tweeting he believes it's the best defense in college football. And I know every team in the country thinks they have the best everything right now. But between the defense, the run game with Spiller, And of course, the skill position guys on the outside with Anaya Smith and Chapman, as you said, I just think the quarterback, let me put it this way. I believe, we kind of feel like Oklahoma's offense is always going to, be at a really high level. Ohio State's offense is really going to always be at a high level. But the A&M quarterback is what is going to take them there because all the other pieces are there. And again, it's just what stands out to me about A&M right now is they do need that elite quarterback play. But if they get it, oh my goodness, all the other pieces fall in line right behind them.
Anything jump out at you in the top 25 that maybe you weren't expecting to see from the coaches?
Not really. The coaches poll, it's coaches. I get it. It's SIDs. I think Notre Dame's a little too high, and I'm not saying that because I'm on in College Station and we know what happened in the playoff. I mean, they lose basically everybody from last year. And listen, I'm not a Notre Dame basher. I actually feel the opposite. I mentioned, being at UConn, I was there right around the time that Brian Kelly was at Cincinnati, and I saw him take a really good program to another level at Cincinnati, and I've always respected what he's done. I think he has Notre Dame operating at about as high of a level as Notre Dame can in the current college football climate. But I also think, they lose 9 starters, a 3-year starter at quarterback, 4 offensive linemen, and the offensive line is always a strength of their team. That felt a little bit high. Maybe I'm a little biased because I live out here in LA. USC felt a little bit high to me. There's a lot of Clay Helton negativity, but they went 5-0 in the regular season last year, which is funny to say 5-0. They only played 5 regular season games before the Pac-12 championship. The other one, I'll say this, David, from your part of the woods, I get the LSU hype, but I really don't get the LSU hype. I mean, I understand Bo Pelini was fired, this offseason months ago. But I mean, to expect a defense to go from literally the 2nd or 3rd worst in the Power 5, the worst in the SEC, to a championship. I mean, we're talking people have them as a fringe, college football playoff dark horse kind of team. And I just say, even if Miles Brennan comes back at some point and plays it out, whatever, to expect the defense to go from as bad as they were to even average feels like a big ask in a conference as tough as the SEC. So I sort of get them being at 13, but I really honestly kind of don't, to be perfectly honest. I really don't. I think it's just too much.
Aren't they one of those teams, too, that you could see them being typical LSU, really, really good, or you could see them being really, really bad? There's still a question mark because of the way last season went. And I'm sorry, I'm not 100% in on Ed O.
Well, the thing, yes, 100%. I mean, the talent is always going to be there, and they do return a lot. And I will say, in their defense, I think in college football, they were probably hurt more in the SEC than anybody. I mean, they lost 14. They had 14 players drafted off that title team from 2 years ago. So to get no spring, to get no traditional fall, you lose Miles Brennan in week 2. I get all that. But it's also, like you said with Coach O, he's a great story. He's a great character. That 2019 team was really fun to follow. But you start looking at the staff turnover that he's had there, 2-3 defensive coordinators. I know Dave Aranda leaves. I know Joe Brady leaves. But, they lose their O-line coach in July, which just was like very bizarre. It feels like, what I keep saying about LSU, and I do truly believe this, this is the year we're going to find out which season was the abnormality. Was the 2019 title run an outlier? And I don't mean that there'll be a title contender every year, but it was 2019 the outlier in the sense that, that was just lightning in a bottle, will never happen again? Or was it last year, weird season, COVID, quarterback injury, you lose, I think, 9 or 10 starters off a championship defense? We're going to find out pretty quick. I'll say this too, and again, it might be my Pac-12 bias. UCLA actually played pretty well down the stretch last year. Their win-loss record wouldn't reflect it. They return everybody. Part of it's the COVID stuff, but I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk. They play at UCLA in week 1. I expect them to win. But, I mean, if that's a close one, the chirping is going to start pretty early because, as we know, the schedule is not going to get any easier from there.
Aaron, you've been keeping up with any NFL stuff? Anything jumping out at you in the NFL? I mean, you got Dak Prescott saying he's going to try to be more of a, game manager, not throw for 6,000 yards. Just any thoughts on the NFL? And we can focus not on the Texans because they're ridiculous, but maybe the Cowboys and the rest of the NFL.
Well, the one thing that really stands out to me, David, as you'll get to know me better, like anybody else, I whiff on a lot of stuff. But one thing that I think I got right, I host Fox Sports Radio, 11 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. A lot of great, we're on and during Pac-12 After Dark. We're recapping all the big games. If you remember, last year, there was only one team on the West Coast that played for about 80% of the season. The Pac-12 did not play in September and October. There were a lot of BYU games on during my time slot, and I never once saw the second best player in college football in Zach Wilson when I watched BYU all of those nights. And so it was funny in the lead up to the draft, there's this big thing about how can you take Mac Jones at number 3? How can you take Trey Lance at number 3? And obviously Trey Lance ended up going there. And I said, why we're focused on Mac Jones, who just statistically had one of the greatest seasons in the history of college football against the toughest schedule in the history of college football. 11 SEC games, Ohio State, Notre Dame is the toughest schedule in the history of college football. He just had one of the greatest seasons ever. Why are we worried about that guy, but we're totally sold that Zach Wilson is just the definitive number 2 pick and no one's going to even question it? I don't know if you saw, but they had kind of an open scrimmage. I believe, if I remember correctly, he had 7 offensive drives, 1 field goal, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
Goodness
now,
gracious.
part of it's the Jets. Part of it's the Jets.
Yeah.
But part of it is I just never understood why it was this definitive thing that he had to go ahead of Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Mac Jones, stuff like that. So that's what stands out. The Texans thing is weird. Do I have time to go in on the Texans here for half a second?
Bring it.
I'll tell you, well, it's not really me going in. I'm just really confused. So the day they reported to training camp, I was hosting with Bucky Brooks, who is like as plugged in the NFL as anybody that I know. And even Bucky just thought it was a foregone conclusion. If this guy shows up, this guy's playing. And so I don't really understand what the Texans are doing, because I understand there's a lot of off the field issues that need to be addressed, but the NFL is nowhere near the end of the investigation. They're not going to step in and suspend him. You're paying this guy a ton of money. And I keep hearing this argument of you're not playing him to protect his trade value, but nobody's going to trade for him until the issue gets settled. So I feel like if he's there, you should play him, because you're going to get asked questions about him anyway. I know there's a lot of people probably in your area that disagree. They want the legal stuff settled before they ever see him in a uniform again. I just feel like if you're paying him, you should play him, but I guess I'm in the minority on that one.
Aaron, I think the fact that he's there makes it a bigger story. So either just send him home. If he's not going to play, send him home or trade him.
That's what I feel like.
But
that's what a Dolphins fan will tell you they would love to have him. A Broncos fan would tell you the Dolphins are not trading 4 first-round picks, not knowing literally if he will be allowed to play by the courts of law and by the legal system in the next 6 to 8 months. So I just think it's very weird. It's like you said, if you're not going to play him, send him home. But if he's there, I don't get this. He's the backup safety on scout team while Tyrod Taylor takes the first team snap.
All right. That's Aaron Torres, Fox Sports. Thanks so much, brother. We'll talk to you in a week.
David, thank you, man. Have a great afternoon.
You too. Aaron Torres, always good stuff here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. If you want to be a part of the show, we got an open segment coming up. You can call us up on the BCSI hotline, 979-693-1150. A bunch of your text messages I need to get to because we've had a loaded hour here, but you can still hit up the A&B text line at that same number, 979-693-1150. But right now, I want caller number 1, and we're going to give you a free car wash from Aggieland Express Car Wash in South College Station off of William D. Fitch in Greens Prairie. They are Aggie-owned and operated with the friendliest staff and personal touch. They offer monthly memberships. We're going to give the first caller a free car wash right now from Aggieland Express in South College Station. That number, 979-693-1150.
You're listening to The Zone. The Zone. Aggieland's all sports station.
We think it's fun for a laugh. Brian Broadcasting and the Nikki Peterson Talent Network present Good Clean Fun, a comedy night with Carrie Pomeroli.
So you guys, yes, I am a member of the Mommy Mafia. I have 2 kids. I have a 4-year-old and a good one.
Don't miss Hollywood's favorite clean comedian live in College Station Friday, September 3rd at 7 at Skybreak Church. Get your tickets now at brianbroadcasting.com.
I was in the Zumba class, and there's this teacher, right? And she's all cute and sassy, and she's like, shake what your mama gave you. I'm in the back are going, my mama gave me sciatica and allergies. How do I shake my self-esteem issues?
Bring your friends, bring a date, bring anyone who's ready for a good time.
You guys, who's happy just to be out of the house? Really? Right?
Good Clean Fun, a comedy night with Carrie Pomeroli, September 3rd. Presented by Nikki Peterson Talent Network. Be discovered. VIP and group packages available. Tickets on sale now at BrianBroadcasting.com.
You went online to switch your car insurance to Progressive so you could save money. But then you saw a friend request from an old summer camp buddy. And now here you are, clicking through photos of his kickball team from 2011. Looks like they won the championship that year. Then he moved to Tulsa. Oh, a new tattoo. Yes, they said it was easy to save hundreds on car insurance with Progressive, but they forgot about the rest of the internet. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average savings by new customer surveyed who saved in 2019.
At United Roofing and Sheet Metal, we've got you covered inside and out.
Need help with your high wind or hail damage claims? Call Larry Winkler and the fine folks at United. United Roofing is your local, professional, family-owned business with over 40 years of service to the Brazos Valley. United is your insurance claims specialist, providing the most comprehensive full-system labor and material warranty in the